We've got a key report from Kurt Nimmo, TSA, an army of pervs and criminals. And Wayne-Madsen, we're going to come back in the next segment and go to these callers, but shifting gears into some other subjects, I want to get into the TSA, the economy a little bit more, but finishing up with Obama's background from all the pieces you've got. And, of course, you're going to be traveling around the world doing some more investigation. Now, people should pray for you and support you at wayne-madsen-report.com, which is a subscription site, folks. Real journalists need your support out there. As you're on this trail, looking at enough pieces of the jigsaw, what does it look like to you?
Well, I think it's clear that Obama was groomed from a very young age, and that's not to say he was the only one. They probably have all kinds of people they're grooming for the highest office in the country. But I think Obama was the right person at the right time. After 8 years of Bush, they put that hope and change message out like it was a Pepsi commercial. The logo was even the same as the Pepsi advertising logo. And we bought it. I remember, of course, in '68 when they repackaged Richard Nixon. It's the new Nixon. It was like a new brand of detergent. It wasn't the old Nixon with the 5 o'clock shadow. You won't have Dick Nixon to kick. They did the same thing with Obama, but I think, unlike Richard Nixon, this was an intelligence agency operation. I wouldn't suggest that the CIA had much to do with Richard Nixon. As a matter of fact, they probably had a lot to do with removing him from the White House.
Yeah, they're tired of strong presidents that actually exercise the executive power. They want purely held, kept minions.
Right, and so the word I get from about Obama from people who see him on Air Force One, who encounter him, is he's very cold, he's arrogant. They'll say, "Good morning, Mr. President." He won't respond. I mean, at least George W. Bush did that. He might have been an idiot in all other respects, but we have a guy who I think he believes he's entitled. He's been told, he said, other than saying he wanted to be president of Indonesia, he said he wanted to be president of the United States. So clearly and we're told, because he had this rags to riches story, there was never any rags in his background.
But he's looking he's very polished. He's looking more and more angry these days, though.
Well, yeah. Oh, yes. I think it's getting to him. I think, from what I understand, he has a very thin skin for criticism. And at one point in time, there was some feeling that maybe he wasn't going to run again for re-election, but his wife Michelle is apparently the same way, very thin-skinned when it comes to criticism. But this election may not be a cakewalk. He got a cakewalk the last time. Okay, it got a little nasty between him and Hillary, but I think now he's got his 4 years to run on, doing everything for Wall Street, nothing for Main Street.
Where does stage terror play in? Because I really see a lot of White House advisors, as you know, are in the news saying, man, a terror attack would really help us.
Well, yes, and we, look at Cass Sunstein with all his cognitive disinformation, infiltration. Rahm-Emmanuel, you never let a good crisis go to waste. He's now mayor. He will be soon the mayor of Chicago. I really fear for Chicago because I think all the right...
they have the highest gas prices there.
Right, and we've got Larry Silverstein now, the owner of the Willis Tower, the former Sears Tower. We've got all kinds of military operations going on in Chicago, and there's been some very strange financial dealings that have been passed on to me about maritime liens against the Treasury Department, liens that were put in by the governor of Illinois, Secretary of State, the Chicago Police. What's going on in Chicago, I think we have to really be fearful of the city of Chicago. And would Obama sacrifice Chicago? He has no roots in Chicago other than the fact he was plopped in there by some federal agency.
So a lot of people in their gut have seen all the moves, but also strategically that a false flag is in the offing in Chicago.
People I talk to in Chicago feel that way. They feel that it's going to happen in this mid-America city.
I've had Chicagoans tell me that they're telling folks get out of the Sears Tower.
Right. Well, we do know that, Chicago's always been called America's city. It's a city of neighborhoods. It's a lot of different ethnic groups. It really is a true American city. And everyone in the Midwest has some connection to Chicago, either through business, family, or even just going there because New York's too far away.
So hitting that'll get everybody scared. Stay there. You're saying you spent a lot of time in Chicago in the last year investigating the mafia connections that are pretty much public. And so, bottom line, you're saying they're sending rahm-emmanuel, the admitted Israeli operative, over there to what? Get things ready for a little special event?
Well, I certainly would be worried about what could happen in Chicago because let's look at Obama covering up various aspects of his own private life there, his and some of his closest advisors. We also have to realize there was a trade. Rahm-Emmanuel leaves as White House chief of staff, winds up as mayor of Chicago. Bill Daley's brother, Mayor Richard Daley's brother, Bill Daley, is now the White House chief of staff. Very nice little...
and he was one of the guys in the whole banker scam.
Oh, absolutely. He was, Morgan Stanley, the whole part of the whole bailout. Instead of being White House chief of staff, why isn't he under indictment? I mean, this is what Elliot Spitzer is saying about where are the jail sentences? Where has been Eric Holder, the Attorney General, on indicting these people? They only took out a couple of them. And I think we have to really look at this nexus between Bill Daley, the chief of staff, Obama's from Chicago, Valerie Jarrett is a slumlord, land scam artist from Chicago. Axelrod has gone back to Chicago to run the Obama campaign. We got Emmanuel there as mayor. I mean, it's a perfect city if they wanted to pull something off. I would add that Sam Zell is the owner of the Chicago Tribune, and they've emaciated the investigative staffs of the two major Chicago newspapers, the Chicago Tribune and the Sun-Times. So there's nobody there except for some bloggers and some independent journalists who are really looking into what's been going on.
And I've seen independent journalists, when Rahm's out in public in a park, they try to talk to him, and the media roughs them up. I mean, they just love being servants.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there really isn't any more independent media as a major mainstream media in the city of Chicago. Now, this is a town with a rich history of muckraking journalists. Mike Royko, and we can go, the list goes on and on. But they don't exist there to any great extent any longer.
What do you expect the Republicans to do? Because they're basically scapegoating the welfare moms, which is part of the bankruptcy. But if you don't deal with the private Federal Reserve, the root of the scam, everything else is rearranging deck chairs. Well, I mean, yes. Yeah, look at the Republic. I personally think that Obama will be reelected. I mean, look at the Republican side. That is going to be a three-ring circus without the circus master. Donald Trump, he's a sideshow. Now, he's criticizing Karl Rove, and, it's a food fight. And it will remain a food fight up through the primaries and to the convention. Isn't it funny? Obama has no body on the Democratic side willing to challenge him in the primary. Dennis Kucinich said he should have a challenger. My feeling is the way the Obama administration has acted like a mafia, I think they've scared basically any potential rival who would take Obama on in the Democratic primary. I don't think we may see some minor people, but I don't think we're going to see a major. Well, the word is a lot of Republicans think that 4 more years of Obama will even cement their takeover even more. Right, and of course they're looking at future elections, possibly taking over the Senate. And eventually, locking in the White House in a pretty much landslide victory. The trifecta, right? And and look, Wall Street. What problems do they have with Obama? He's given them everything. He's screwed over Main Street, but he's given Wall Street everything. So if it ain't, and he puts the liberals to sleep. Now they like torture and war. It's kind of liberal and cute. Right. We can't, you can't even muster a big crowd for an anti-war demonstration. Well, that's what I've said to Republicans that criticize Obama. His rhetoric's different, but his actions are George Bush squared. You guys should love it. Right. And he's even seen and raised Bush on some issues, like going after whistleblowers in the government. We've now got one guy, former official of the NSA, being charged under the Espionage Act of 1917. Only 4 people in the history of the United States have been charged under that act. And we have Tom Drake now, his trial starting in Baltimore soon, and they want to put him away forever. Not because he
revealed anything of a national security nature. He revealed that there was massive corruption with contracts at NSA to the tune of billions and billions of dollars. And
they're publicly going after him for exposing fraud. That message is, let us steal the money. We're mafia. Sit down and shut up.
Absolutely. And the people he's talking about were Michael Hayden, who was the NSA director at the time, and the current director, who's now got the added hat of Cyber Command, General Keith Alexander. And it was Obama that gave him that extra star and that new command.
By the way, I'm really worried about him running a false flag on the web and then saving it by taking the freedom away. They're really prepping everybody for that.
And Obama said he was going to have the most transparent and open government in history, and he has cracked down on Freedom of Information Act releases. I mean, this is going beyond what even Bush did. Bush was kind of benign in that respect. So, yes, in many respects, Obama is worse on some issues.
And so Republicans that thought tyranny was cool, they ought to really love what Obama's doing.
They should. I think the neocons, they're happy with him, but they wish he would go further. We heard, McCain's over there in Libya the other day, standing in front of one of these rebel flags, the old monarchist flag, saying, we need to have troops here. This is
the troops are already there. He's getting them ready. You've been to Libya. What's your view of it?
Well, I was there in October of 2009. I was in Gaddafi's tent. He was celebrating the 40th anniversary of his revolution. He called it the Green Revolution. Has nothing to do with the environment, I might add. And it was quite clear that it was a dictatorship. With all what he said about we have direct democracy, the people rule, it's not true. His image was everywhere. People didn't smile. People whispered. You can tell when you're in a dictatorship. But unfortunately...
Kind of the way America's going, with images of the government and Napolitano everywhere.
Oh, absolutely. And I think with what happened in Tunisia and Egypt on both sides of Libya, it was a foregone conclusion or would be a revolt there. But I think the problem is that certain Western powers, Britain, France, United States, saw, hey, this is a chance to go in and grab the oil. And that's exactly what Trump said. We ought to go in there and grab the oil. Well, that's what this is all about. So people who might have been neutral on Gaddafi said, well, he may be a dictator, but he's our dictator. We saw the same thing play out in Iraq when they were invaded. People who might not have liked Saddam Hussein did, come to the defense of Iraq because they're nationalists. They want to protect their own country. So we see.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing. African also wants to use Libya as a base.
Right. Gaddafi was building a huge international airport that was going to be the hub for Africa. What a perfect place to stick AFRICOM with a huge runway that can handle all kinds of aircraft and a hub for Africa. And now we see, of course, these revolutions starting to spill south of the Sahara into, other countries. And I think this plays right into the AFRICOM game plan to go in there.
Well, you've seen the same card with the French going into the Ivory Coast.
Right, and they're doing it for us. I mean, the French are basically, this isn't the Chirac France anymore. This is Sarkozy France, and he's basically, not to, use a cliche, he's our French poodle.
All right, let's go ahead and talk to Julio in Illinois. We're going to go to the bottom of the hour here with calls. Julio in Illinois, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Gentlemen, good afternoon to the both of you. Happy Easter. It's great to talk to two true journalists. History is going to show that you guys were reporting the truth all along. You guys are absolutely right, hitting the nail on the coffin. False flag will happen in Chicago. I'm from Chicago. I'm terrified. You look at Bill Daley. He used to work where? J.P. Morgan Chase. What's J.P. Morgan Chase's problem? They're shorting the silver market. Silver is booming, almost hit 50 in the Asian markets today. I have a feeling once they're trying to speed up the Blagojevich retrial just so they can shut up Blagojevich, because he truly can send Rahm-Emmanuel into deep trouble if that happens.
Yeah, they're not even letting Blagojevich defend himself, play tapes, or talk. And I thought when you got one trial and it was hung jury, you get off. I guess they're going to try him over and over again, Wayne.
Oh, absolutely. He wants to have played the 500 hours of wiretap information. The judge is dirty. James Zagel is a dirty judge. The prosecutor, Patrick Fitzgerald, is absolutely tainted. He's very dirty. It goes back to the '93 World Trade Center.
People aren't dirty in Chicago. The government's good.
Out of New York.